Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, and welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Today's Thursday, the 10th of December, 2020. Now, what I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to do the market report today. This is more important. There's something coming. It's a ways away yet, and it's going to be more devastating than anything we've went through so far. And if you're not prepared for it, you're going to be in big trouble. And it's called the wealth transfer. And it's a ways out yet. It's not here yet. The economy is too poor to cause the conditions we need to cause the wealth transfer. The wealth transfer is going to be caused by the hyperinflation. So, for the next couple months, things look very bleak. Everybody's worried that things are going to completely collapse, and everything. And yeah, if they didn't support it, it would. But that's not going to happen. They're going to support it. I know that they've been dragging their heels and they've been dropping the ball. And then an awful lot of businesses have been going out of business, but an awful lot of these things are directly caused by the virus that we've went through for the last year. And moving into 2021, we have an awful lot of people out there just doomed. You hear just doomed, that it's going to be doomed because of this. Nothing's ever going to come back. You hear all this, we're in this depression for the next 30 years, and doom, you hear doom, but that's not the way it's going to work out. And I've been saying this for the last several months, Yeah, we're going through a little rough patch. Well, it's more than a little rough patch. It's bad, what we're going through right now. But you got to form mental pictures to understand what I'm talking about. What we're talking about right now is like as if we were in a one of these rafts, these White River rafting. And what we're going through right now would be a patch of white water, what they call white water, or rapids. That's what we're going through right now. We're going to come through this. It's going to be really bad. January is going to be terrible. February is going to be really bad too, and probably the best part of March. But this spring, things are going to start to look a little bit better, and we're going to be at our lowest point probably in around March with all this that's going on right now. But things are going to start to turn around. That turnaround that's going to come next summer is what's going to make the real doom. And nobody else is talking about this. Nobody sees it coming. But that turnaround going into next year and into next fall and into next winter, when the economy starts picking up and the velocity of money starts to increase, what's going to happen is it's going to lead to, in 2022, probably starting early in 2022, a lack of confidence in the fiat currencies worldwide. And it's a direct result of what's happening now. They're having to overprint to get us through this economic crisis that we're in right now and pull us out of this malaise. And you know what? They're going to be successful. The printing press is going to win. And the direct result of this is the economy worldwide is going to start to pull out. It's going to start to have that recovery that they talked about, that V-shaped recovery. It's going to start to come because the virus is going to start to recede back. I heard Fauci say by midsummer the virus, something about that it might recede back or something. I can't remember the exact quote he said, but this is natural. These pandemics don't last forever. And the economy, with all this money that they've printed in and put in there, and continue to put in, and going to put in a lot more in January and February and in March, it's going to start to have an effect. It's a delayed reaction. So moving into next fall and everything, the economy and everybody's going to be thinking, hey, this is great, toward the end of 2021. They're going to think, hey, this is great. We've pulled ourselves out of the economy, and they're all going to be patting. That's when the real doom's going to come. Because we're finally going to start to enter into this long-awaited hyperinflation. Now, I've been telling you guys about this hyperinflation that's coming for years. It's just taken a little bit longer to get here than I expected. Okay, quite a bit longer to get here than I expected. And they were able to print a lot more money than I expected before they trigger it. But believe me, they're not going to stop printing. They're going to have to keep on printing and printing and printing and printing, and ever more bigger amounts. And you know what? It's going to get here. It's probably 2022 is going to be the year for the hyperinflation. The hyperinflation triggers something else that I call a wealth transfer, and that's what spells the doom. Is because once the wealth transfer starts, it's a self-perpetuating, self-feeding cycle. And all the money starts to pour into Bitcoin, the cryptocurrencies, gold, silver. It's going to be the big year for gold, silver, and cryptos. So if you guys have been waiting for years, sitting on bag holders, sitting on this stuff, that's going to be your year. It's going to explode in price. But what's the cost when gold hits $15,000? What's the cost when silver's like $300 an ounce? What's the cost when Bitcoin goes to $300,000? What's the cost in all of this? The cost is going to be what you see in the world. And what you see is a transfer of wealth out of the fiat monetary system, where all the wealth is held right now, and a sudden transfer of wealth into these other asset classes. And yeah, it might make a lot of people that don't have money now quite rich. People that are right now considered to be almost, maybe you don't have a lot of money, and maybe you've stored away some of these asset classes, and you take advantage of this wealth transfer. Yeah, it might make you rich, but what's the world around you going to look like during this wealth transfer? Because when all that money gets transferred out of where it is now and into someplace else, and you get a whole new set of people who are rich in the world, and a lot of people who were rich become poor, that's the wealth transfer. And I'm going to tell you what I'm anticipating. And I don't want to make this a long talk or anything. I'm going to tell you what I'm anticipating. I'm anticipating parts of the system to shut down, areas. And the biggest danger areas is going to be in around urban areas. This is the biggest danger because, we're also, during this wealth transfer, we're also doing a shift, an economic shift. Everything is changing the way things were done in the past. People who paid you to go and get a college degree, and go out there and try to get a good job and all this stuff. And people were moving into these urban centers, and everything. Now, everything's shifting online. A lot of jobs are being done online, and these old jobs are being left behind or replaced, Computers can replace an awful lot of people. Not just your computers, but your robots can replace an awful lot of people. Jobs that used to be in high demand, like warehouse jobs. Now they got a little robot that goes down the aisles of the warehouse, putting the merchandise on and taking the merchandise off and bringing it up to the front. They used to have a person do that. He used to have to go back through the warehouse, and warehouse jobs, there's a lot of warehouse jobs going to be gone. Convenience store jobs are going to have automated convenience stores. These new scanners and things that people can go inside with their phone. They just aim it at whatever item they want to purchase and push a button and paid for. It's all automated. Automated shops, are coming and everything. And so a lot of shop workers are going to be out of business. It's not going to be long now until big stores, big chain stores like Target and Walmart, there's going to be nobody there hardly, except the customer. Customer's going to go in there and you're going to scan everything yourself. And the store will be connected to an automatic security system, with probably just a very few people on board, a skeleton crew. They'll just come in the night and they'll use robots to stock the shelves. This is the kind of world we're moving into. And we're moving into it extremely rapidly, too rapidly. And this is all part of the wealth transfer. The wealth transfer is also a transfer into a new kind of system that we're running. So an awful lot of people out there it's going to be superfluous. They're not really going to have work to do, or they're going to have to shift their employment to some other form of employment. Maybe they're going to have to work online or whatever. But there's only so many jobs for people to work online. But when you're working online too, you don't really have to be in the city or in an urban setting. An awful lot of people move to the urban communities and stuff because they wanted to be close to their place of employment. Now those places of employment the virus has closed millions of them. Hundreds of thousands of them have closed up. Whole cities are just about being boarded now. So people are moving away from the cities, but it's not going to be quick enough, because when the wealth transfer comes, this is the areas that are going to fall of the system that's going to fall apart, is these urban areas. They're going to become like ghost towns. And there's going to be looters and vandals in those areas. And the whole thing is just basically going to become a place you don't want to be during the wealth transfer. There's going to be so many big adjustments and so many big things happen when the wealth transfer occurs. And the people that are recipients of this wealth transfer, if you're on the side of the wealth transfer where you're seeing 100 times gains in perhaps your gold, silver, or cryptos or whatever, all that money's poured into that space, you're going to want to rethink your whole strategy as this wealth transfer is occurring. And you're going to have to do it fast, depending on your location. If you're in one of these locations where the system is collapsing around you, you might want to use your capital, your newly acquired capital, to get out of Dodge, to move to some place where it's safer during this wealth transfer. But pity the people who are all in on dollars, because they're going to kind of get trapped in their situation where they're not going to have, they're going to be limited in the amount of resources that they have to get out of Dodge. They're not going to be able to, so they're going to have to deal with high crime rates that could possibly go through the roof. And this is why it's so important that you get into these asset classes now, because it's just going to be, once March passes this year, and once this volatility starts to come out, we're going to go through this rough patch until about March. Once things start to pick up on the other side of this, these asset classes like gold, silver, cryptocurrencies are going to go so exorbitantly high in price, you're not going to be able to get in any longer. You have waited too long. You have missed the boat. Right now, you haven't missed the boat. Right now, these wealth classes are going through turbulence, and the prices might drop even lower in the next several months between now and March. And this is the time to think. This is the way you have to think. The way this system is structured now, with counterparty risk, you do not own anything unless you own it in your own hot little hand. Unless your hand is right around it, you do not own it. So if it's on a piece of paper saying that you own whatever, your bank account, mutual funds, equities, it doesn't matter. Bonds, it doesn't matter. If a piece of paper says that you own it, and you don't actually have it in your hot little hand, the way this system is going to go through, the problems that this system is going to go through in 2022, you don't really own it. You could lose it all. No matter how well secured they tell you it is, no matter how much they assure you that you own this, if all you got's a slip of paper or digits on a computer, you have to find out how much you have of whatever it is. You have to go on a computer and look at digits on the screen. You don't actually own it. You don't own it unless you hold it in your hot little hand. And I'm going to tell you what, even though with cryptocurrencies you can hold the private keys, there's nothing like holding something actual, tangible in your actual hand. And so this is the reason why you should actually have both. You should actually have physical metals that you can actually hold in your possession, and you should have cryptocurrencies both. And always remember, with cryptocurrencies, do not leave them on the exchange, because if they're on the exchange, you do not hold them. You do not own them. Make sure you have the private keys, and you have those private keys offline. And you have to think about things like this in the kind of conditions and the kind of things that we're going to see in the next 2 years. It's going to amaze you and astound you what we're going to go through. And I'm not talking about this virus. This virus, I think, is 3/4 finished. I think that we only got about a quarter to go left that we got to make our way through, because the light at the end of the tunnel is showing itself now for the virus. So I'm not talking about the virus now. I mean, I was ahead of this virus thing. I was ahead of the curve. I'm always ahead of the curve on this channel, and I'm ahead of the curve on the wealth transfer. The wealth transfer is going to have a bigger impact than anything we've went through in years for the last, maybe forever. It's going to have that big of an impact. And the wealth transfer is caused by us, directly by us. It comes as a consensus occurs across everyone out there. Everyone, investors, not just investors, but everyone, your average Joe, a consensus that what they've been putting their money in and storing their wealth in is going to absolutely be destroyed. And once that consensus occurs, then they're going to all try to get out at the same time. And that's what causes the wealth transfer. And when the wealth transfer occurs, it's going to occur rather rapidly. And if you're not positioned correctly, and the time to position yourself is now, and I believe that the wealth transfer is going to occur in the year 2022. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it'll take a bit longer. Or maybe it'll come quicker. It might come in 2021, the latter part of 2021. I could be wrong. It might not last until 2022. It's very hard to time these things correctly. But when the wealth transfer occurs, you got to be on the right side of that trade, or you're going to get burnt to the ground. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.